Get some more analysis on the situation. Giorgio Cafiero is the CEO of Gulf State Analytics and joins me now from Washington. Giorgio, good to have you on the show. You were listening to Mohamed Mirandi's soundbite there. He said that this was not a cyber attack, but rather an act of espionage, and that in previous attacks, the U.S. and Israel have always been involved. If you take that as a basis, but he also hinted to the fact that, this is the time when IAEA inspectors are around. I mean, could that be possible that that the IAEA could have been infiltrated and they used that to actually to carry out what the Iranians are calling nuclear terrorism?
I don't know any specific details. Obviously, these are serious accusations to make. I'm sure if there's some evidence of that, it will surface at some point. But I think regardless of how this act, called cyber terrorism by the Iranian authorities was carried out, I think it's going to be really important to see how this plays out vis-a-vis the process in Vienna that the Europeans are trying to facilitate. I think for those who have an interest in the JCPOA surviving, there have to be some real concerns right now that this episode is going to give a further boost to elements in Iran which are firmly opposed to the JCPOA, and that could certainly undermine the prospects for this nuclear accord reviving itself.
Okay, so those are your thoughts on how it could affect the future of the revival of this deal. Let me ask you this. In the event that this deal is revived, that all original signatories are back on board, how do you think this will affect what's at stake in Iran? What I'm alluding to is the upcoming elections.
Yeah, there's no doubt that Israel is very nervous about the U.S. shifting from a policy of maximum pressure on Iran toward maximum diplomacy. There are other actors in the region too, such as Saudi Arabia, which of course share these concerns. And right now, I think, as I said, the Israelis are trying to impact the climate in Iran, the political environment. And I think there's no doubt that these kinds of attacks do give more of an upper hand to the hardliners who are going to say, we don't want to talk to the United States. Look, after this event, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is in Israel. In his own words, the U.S. is going to give ironclad support to Israel. That sends a very strong message. And I definitely think the hardliners in the Islamic Republic will be the ones to best capitalize on these recent developments.
Giorgio, tell me this. The U.S. administration, the Biden administration, has made it clear that they want to revive this deal. In fact, the spokesperson for the State Department has said, we don't want the 2015 deal to be a ceiling. We want it to be a starting off point. But we know that has to take some new form, whatever it may be, this new agreement. How much sway do you think Israel has or will have in the formation of this deal, whether it's through the United States or other ways?
Certainly the U.S. just returning to the JCPOA would be a nightmarish scenario from the Israeli government's standpoint. We don't know yet if the Biden administration is going to go back into the nuclear accord. It certainly has not rushed to do so. Now, of course, the clock is ticking. Time is of the essence. I'm not saying that after Rouhani is president, there's no possibility of a JCPOA revival, but the chances of that happening are probably going to be quite a bit lower. And so I think between now and Iran's presidential election, we could see Israel possibly stepping up some activities to further undermine any hopes for the Biden and Rouhani administrations to be reaching some sort of a new understanding on the Iranian nuclear file.
All right, Giorgio Cafiero, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us here on the NewsHour. I do appreciate your analysis.